Hello, hello. If I move this out of my way, that won't go off it. I just want to check that out. Yeah. Oh. Okay, we're good. Yeah. Okay. Hey, everybody. That's it. Okay. It's only, how many people we have in so far? I'm counting 4, I think. Pastor Gina registering twice. We see who's gonna log on. Let's give them 2 more minutes and see who's gonna get here. Everybody, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, great. Well, time's going really quickly. We're halfway there tonight. Halfway there tonight. With regard to your homework, I always come early so I can sort them through. So I don't have everybody's homework for session 3. And I got the makeover ones. I read them over, but normally I read them several times before I assign the grades and the marks to it. But I can tell you right off the bat, all of those do-overs showed a huge improvement just looking at them. Since you all didn't pick up the first set of your homework yet, obviously you all in no hurry to get these ones. So I will have them all properly.
It's difficult for me to get out there during the week, I must say.
I know and I understand, but I'm just saying I don't have to, rush through. I could just give you a grade. But it would have been so much it's like, to me, you just get so much more out of it, being able to see the comments and stuff on it. I can tell you this, there was an improvement on all of your week 2 assignments, some small and some big. I still want to say you keep on course if you are looking at what you are supposed to be doing. So always have that on your answer sheet in front of you. That's like a compass. So, because there's a tendency for people to like talk a lot and go off course and write a lot of things. So when you can look at that, look back at it and see that, then it keeps you focused and it keeps you guided. So the only thing I'm going to say about your second session homework at this point is that there were 2 that really stood out to me. And since this session number 4 is talking about the dynamics of motivation, and you as HR being involved in the motivation of your human capital, I'm going to use these 2 people and with their permission, well, with the permission of one, and I know the second one wouldn't mind, but I really want to give a special recognition to Bridget. Bridget, the Lord never knows, this paper was like day and night from the first one. It was really good. You did a great job. At a 75, I think that was excellent. And if your paper had look a little better in terms of presentation, you probably could have picked up another 10 easy. But you really you understood. And I think like just if and I always tell people, you don't have to try to be so smart. And with Bahamians, this is something that I have noticed throughout my career with us. And I always thank God that I lived in Canada for quite a while. Well, man, not that long, about 7 years. I did my university there and then I lived there. But I learned so much in the way those people think and what they do as opposed to us. We are tremendous talkers. We talk and we look good. But normally we like to do what we like to do. And if you're all in HR or want to get into HR, you're going to see that with your people. People don't like discipline and they don't like correction. And anytime you have to focus them they think you're picking on them. That's a well, I really can't talk about other places, but that is a Bahamian thing. And in all my years, I watch it happen in the seminars and that I've done. As long as we talking about the issues, people talk a lot. But the minute you try to get them to stop talking and put it down on paper, there's like a disconnect. And so you're going to find, until we are finished, I am going to be tormenting you and holding your feet to the fire, because I really want this particular course you're doing to make a difference in your career life. So I decided what I'm going to do when it comes to homework with the concurrence of the person. Anytime someone gets an A, okay, that's over an A starts, let me tell you where the A starts. An A starts at 88, a straight out A. You can get an A minus, which starts at 80. But every time somebody gets an A, I am going to ask them to, if they would allow me, to copy their work and share it with you. But you got to pick it up and read it. And then you'll be able to gauge where you are with your work. And so I was so, really, it was a joy. I read this paper at least four times. This was Dejanice's paper, Dejanice Roll. It's really good, really good. And you know, I say that, I guess people call me a hard taskmaster, but this one was good. And what I really wanted you to see was how clearly it was laid out and how it covered and how it covered everything she was asked to do in that activity. Very, very good work. And then, because we need to motivate people and all that, I called up and asked her if I could copy it to share with you all. And she said, yes. And so I'd given her a 90 for her paper. It's good. Y'all have to read this. And then I give her an extra 5 because she was so willing to share. And this is how she put it. She says, well, you know, words to this effect, if I do my work and it could be beneficial to someone, then I'd love to share it. Now, I gave you all the narrative to that because you have to understand that is the heart of an HR person. Mm-hmm. An HR person is like a minister. They always giving. They give out, your work in HR, your job in HR is to make other people more comfortable, is to help them as opposed to helping you. So an HR person is a giver. They're always giving out. They're always trying to make it better. So I had the young man who works here make the copies. I am not sure if they're here on a Saturday. I'll but it'll really be worth your while to pick them up along with your own so that you can see how you improved. And I did all of the session twos, but tonight, because we have something else very important to do, I don't want to get bogged down like we did last time. I spent too much time going over homework, but all of the do-overs, I can tell you, I've looked at them once, I've read them once, but I go much further than that. I go over them and over them and over them to make sure that I give you the very best possible mark. But they are like light years from from what you passed in. So I can pretty well believe that there are going to be some B's and B pluses and who knows, maybe a couple of A's. But that is what I am looking for. So I'm pleased to be able to say that I see a lot of improvement. And I mean, that's not to say um, what the ones I marked were bad. That's not that, because it's not that. But I figure, why would you want to settle for a B or if you can do a little bit more and get an A? That's what my mind tells me. Okay, so I'm going to leave that be because I want to make sure that before we go on, that we at least have an understanding of what we've been talking about so far. So I'm going to ask this question and anybody can answer it for me. But I want to ask this. Remember, we talked about HR in two phases. We talked about traditional HR, and then we talked about HR evolving into an innovative discipline. And so I want to ask you, can you identify, without looking at notes, without looking in your book, can you identify some of the characteristics and the dynamics of traditional HR?
Admin, administrative.
Uh,
Is that what you mean? Like processes or?
No. I'm talking, I mean like the physical things that an HR department does. Remember I went down that list and I asked you all to please write them down? When you think, okay, let me put it this way. When you think of an HR department and what they do, what are some of the things you think of?
Compensation, payroll,
Payroll,
Compensation,
benefits.
benefits, payroll.
payroll,
What are some of the other things you think about?
Well, in our case, Christmas parties, fun days, some kind of morale building exercise, incentives, awards. Am I close?
You know something, I'm coming through this TV for you all, you know. Jesus, Savior, Pilot me. What are some of the most important things? You party and birthday and reward. What are some of the most important things HR do? Come on, y'all.
policies and procedures,
Yeah.
Motivation.
What kind?
Motivation.
Y'all better don't go asking for no HR job.
Personnel file records, administrative. That's what I was.
No, but I asked you
Recruitment.
exactly. Okay?
Oh,
HR does, when you said administrative, the first thing I asked you was what that means.
Oh,
Because you all like to throw the words, but then you don't back it up with what it is.
okay.
I didn't know you, from all them things you were saying, that gave me no idea that you know what administrative was. The first thing about HR is you got to know what HR does. And I would just love, listen, I hate the idea of doing virtual learning. I hate it. It would have been fantastic if we were in the class, face to face, and you would grasp so much more. But traditional HR, and this is fundamental, and we kind of skipped over, well, we skipped over going in it in detail because all that is covered in introduction to HR. But HR is all about recruitment and selection and hiring. Let's go. You talk about motivation, incentives, and awards, yes?
Personal record keeping, personal record keeping.
Personal record keeping, personnel record keeping. What else?
Attendance, time,
Yeah, time.
compensation, payroll.
Time, payroll,
Administration of benefits.
administration of benefits.
sick leave and
Collect-
maternity leave.
I'm sorry?
Right.
Sick leave, maternity leave.
That's right. All of that is your administrative rules because you're keeping track of all that. You're missing one very, very, very important piece.
Employee recognition.
Employee updating,
Yeah.
updating records.
Yeah, but there's something more important than that. It's
Keeping your
keeping you what?
Sanity. I love it.
Well, you need to keep your sanity in order that all them people that you responsible for helping to keep their sanity, keep theirs. But there's, when you talk about recruitment and selection, in that you're talking about the interviewing process, you're talking about the induction or orientation process, all of that. But there is a piece of HR
sanity.
Onboarding.
yeah,
Training.
those come. But there's a big piece that you're all missing, like that you're doing right now. That's integral.
Motivation.
HR. Y'all ain't motivating. What y'all doing?
We
Learning.
talking, we learning, training.
Training, okay.
Development.
Training, yes, training and
Okay.
development, yes,
They
training and
are-
development.
Now, if, just let's say you apply for a job in HR, right? And the interviewer asks you to explain what it is that you bring to that company as an HR person. How you going to get that job? What you going to tell them? Where you bringing? Because that's, they ask you that, you know. How, and especially, I like to think about, just let's say there is a company, and I believe in going forward in the future, you're going to see a lot of smaller companies, entrepreneurships that are going to, they're going to be created, and they're going to need, or they just might need people to do their HR function. So if you don't know what that traditional HR function is, like how you all were struggling just now, how are you going to help them? So if you are offered that job and they ask you, well, you know, we've never had an HR department. So the person who is coming in is going to have to be the person who set this up for us and who, you know, who help us with this. How y'all gonna get the job? y'all gonna convince me? Some brave person? How you gonna get the job?
Well, you'll talk about your exposure, your experience.
But you don't, if you don't have none in HR, you know, you have to convince them that you know something about HR. Isn't that why y'all are doing this class? To know something about HR. Because if you're going to pursue HR, the first thing is you have to know what HR is. And let me tell you, honestly, you got to read.
Is HR, recruitment, training, retention, compensation, payroll.
All of those.
Is that in a nutshell?
Okay, all of those are functions of HR. Okay, and the things you do, they're the physical things in HR. So if you were doing introduction to HR, we would be going in depth in things like how you recruit, sources of recruitment, you know, where you recruiting from, what type of person you need for the business you're in. We would be going in depth with how you create say an orientation package for people coming in. You would be going into how do you come up with a compensation, for example, just examples, package for your people. What would you do to know the percentage of payroll you're going to give in raises and increases? You would talk about promotion, all of those sorts of things. So we are presupposing that you have an idea of what happens in HR. Because what you're doing now is what we call, that part is the external part of HR. The internal part of HR is how you equip yourself, which is what you all are doing now, with the skills, with the knowledge, to make all of those first sets of things happen in the way they should happen for you to have a successful organization. So this part is your part now. The things, the personality you have to be, the knowledge you have to have, the abilities to make those first sets of things happen properly. And that's why we talk now about the roles of HR, the administrative, the operational, the strategic, rules of HR. This is why we've been talking about the relationships you have to build with people in order to make these things happen. This is why we talked about the culture of an organization, the environment of an organization, because that is going to determine the kind of HR that you have. So it does require from you a little bit of, just a little bit more than the 3 hours we go through together. Because then you need to look back at these things to make sure you understand it. Because you don't know when your opportunity for what you want to do is going to happen. And I think we have somebody in here in the class who, if I'm not mistaken, who finds themselves in this opportunity right now. And if I'm not mistaken, Greer, that's you, right? You were in a situation where I gather they're kind of depending on you to guide them through HR. So you more than anybody else should be asking every question, making sure that you understand all of these things so that when you get back to your organization, they begin to look at you at a, sometimes I got to try to say things right, but up your status. You understand what I'm saying? From the administrative clerk, for example, who is in the HR department, but the biggest focus is make sure checking people get the right vacation and shutting down their sick days, and which is very vital to do. Right. Because if you don't do that, you could cost your company a whole lot of money.
Well, if I may interject at this point, you know, the company, you said something so pivotal in the beginning of our sessions, I think about 2 weeks ago. You said, you can do it, but if you're not doing it properly, you may as well don't do it at all. Okay? So I find that this was basically a skeleton of an HR department. And my attempts, I guess, utilizing this course is to push the department, make the company understand how vital and how important this is, because everything else has been built and is robust and solid, and the HR department was just hanging and blowing in the wind. And I'm sitting here saying, but we can contribute so much more to moving this company forward. So that's why I'm sitting here, to learn how I can really push the company forward. So absolutely, you're correct.
And that's why I say to you all, I know maybe sometimes, oh, this woman always saw the presentation and this and that. Jackie tell me, you want me to pretty up the page and do it? And I said, yes, okay. And I will tell you, those 2 pieces you sent in, I can't wait to share about these. I'll share about these next week, because I don't want to get you all distracted. But they listen, this week, all of your work, like with session 3 and stuff, is so much more superior to what you did. And I'm saying to you, when you do that, the better you present yourself, the more serious people take you. Otherwise, you'll notice in most companies and stuff like that, it's just a joke.
Right.
Serious. And so the better you are, prepared and you present yourself, the easier it is for you to influence HR and the path it takes and all of that. Now, just be aware, because you go today and you present an idea or something like that that you think should happen. Don't go thinking, oh, this is a great idea because I present it. They should do it. The executive management team or the management team should do it. It don't work like that. Because remember now, the management team will have their own, they have their own dynamics that they're thinking about. But the fact that they don't accept what you bring and offer, and this is to all of you, because they don't accept it today, doesn't mean that they're not going to accept it. You understand? Because there's something called timing. That's why we talk about relationships. You have to understand, when you go to people at the wrong time, you wouldn't get the same results. I will tell you something that will probably sound really silly, but in one of my jobs as HR, I noticed something over the period of weeks and months when I first went, I would say within the first year. My boss, when he came from his island and his family, he used to go home on, I think it was on Friday, and come back up on Tuesday morning, the managing director. On Tuesday, he was always in a good mood. Even what he wore, he used to wear the nicest, softest colors. Sure, okay, my boss was Kunky Joe. And I'm supposed to say that? Well, I don't know, I mean, I supposed to say white, I don't know, but he was, you know, Bahamian, but he was much more open and willing to negotiate or talk to you or listen to what you have to say when he came back from home. So my assumption was, well, he must be at a good time at home with his family. So I would make sure whatever I wanted to present, I would have that ready for any time after 11 on Tuesday.
Very strategic, very strategic.
As simple as that. As simple as that. And that's how you break the barriers. And the other thing, be truthful. Remember we talk about them characteristics you need to have for them relationships? Honesty and, you know, and you're not going to always be right, but be honest. And the next thing is, never be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn. Every time you make a mistake, that is how you learn. So those are some of the things that I want you to think about as you think about, what if I get that opportunity to get an offer for an HR job? How would I sell myself? And you start by knowing what the basic functions are. And I tell you all, whatever you may not be sure of, and you don't want to ask when you come here, ask Mr. Google. But when Mr. Google tells you, you have to know how to translate that into your environment. So the next thing that I want to do is, I made a list of questions
I just want to say that Eugenia is having a little bit of issues with her audio, her
Oh,
sound.
oh. Maybe, I wonder if she has Erica, what Erica used to have. But Erica doesn't have anymore. Where am I? Patience. Okay, I hope she gets it sorted out. I did some random questions. If I could find my questions, those questions, they, I don't think they, I got it. I did some random questions, right? Now, remember I told you that I also, your in-class participation, you get, there was quite a bit of marks we got for in-class, it's a whole 30%. Was it? I think it was it like rain? No, it was Rita. Remember, I had asked you all something, it was in class. I'd asked you to think about something. It had to do with the products and services your organization offered, the employee classifications and all that. And you didn't have to send it in to me because that was an in-class thing we were talking about. But Renita actually, she sent hers in, and I just take it that this was, you know, what she, because she was saying some of this, as I remember, but this was what she did while she was there, you know, in class, writing it down. And I thought it was very well done. And if she, if, if she, if she really gets that, because that was well done, you know, she's well on the way. But you do not have to write when I ask you these in-class things, when we do the in-class exercises, you do not have to write it and send it in, because I record, you know, I record how well I think you answer and what you did. I record that right here. I have my record sheets. I record that. So I wrote these questions, and I'm just going to ask you randomly, and just take a minute, think about what I'm asking you. And if you're not sure, just ask me what it is I'm asking you, or ask me, can I rephrase it or whatever? And I'll try my best, like I always do, to make sure you understand. So I want to start with Erica, because I got one last week when I got your homework. I just got one page. When I came in tonight, Miss Dean gave me the other page of your homework, because I was saying, you know, I don't deal in a half, but I got it. So that made me feel good. So Erica, I'm going to give you the first question. And the first question is an HR department necessary to the successful functioning of an organization? Why or why not? Now, this is a what you think question, but I need you all to be able to back up what you're saying in HR lingo. You know, that how we were talking the last 3 weeks. So again, Erica,
Yes, ma'am. Repeat it for me again. Go ahead.
is an HR department necessary to the successful functioning of an organization? That's your question.
Yes, absolutely. The HR department is vital to any organization. It helps with recruiting. It helps with onboarding persons who can bring added value to an organization. It has to be strategic in its recruitment process. It has to be strategic in performance of the persons. So let me back up. Because it has various functions, the administrative side, the operational side. And so it has to be able to have persons who can maintain both levels, who can sit around the table, who can contribute, as well as manage people, deal with grievances, corporate issues, whether it be legal or governmental, career and succession planning for their people, training and development. So yes, HR is absolutely necessary to an organization. I think it's actually the heart of the organization.
Okay. There was a word that Erica used in there that I'm wondering, I know Gray, I don't want you to answer this yet. I want you to critique the word. Erica mentioned onboarding. Anybody who doesn't know what that means in the HR context? Onboarding? Anybody who doesn't know? Okay, let me take a shot at this. Lorraine, you want to describe what onboarding is?
I actually never heard the term before, but I just took it to mean literally bringing someone on board.
Okay.
So getting them through all the correct steps, the procedures, the process in order for them to become employed with your company. That's what I took it to mean. Literally bringing them on board.
But guess what? I like that. Because see, whether it was that or not, you explained why you chose that. And this is the level we're at. So Greer, was she right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The only portion that she missed was vetting, because it's important that we vet our clients and in turn vet our employees or potential employees as well.
Better go, Lorraine. And that's how we use our noodles. You know what I mean? You don't have to no. But you back up what you say. You take a educated guess. And you know, Erica, there's nothing like confidence here. When you're confident about what you say, you could be dead wrong and people believe you. Y'all know that? You be wrong. Or you have no idea what you're talking about. But it's the way you say it and how you say it. And people say, oh yeah, she's so smart. Oh yeah. And that time you.
Miss Marcel, you're a true politician as well.
Yeah, but honestly, okay.
No, it's true. It's true.
Don't call me no politician. I don't like politicians, but let me tell you what I am though. I believe You know, when we started, one of the things I said to you all, and I always say to people, when adults are learning, there is no right or wrong like that. There is being able to justify what you say, okay? And I get excited when I see people who like, you know, stepping a little out of the box, because I watch you, you know what I mean? You were just, you could see the wheels turning in her head as she was talking, boy, stringing all those things together. You know, you could see it. But that's the joy of learning. That is what it is about. That's the joy of making something happen. Okay? When I sat down to create the National Training Agency, I mean, I always say, there were many nights I cried. I say, God, how am I going to do this huge national thing? You got to help me. And I must be throw away 2 packs of paper that I did, outlines on, trying to see how this is going to work with this, is going to work with this, it's going to work with this. It's not easy. Being good at what you all do, no matter where you are, it's not easy. And so it just requires thought, and it's fun. It's fun. So let's go to, was it Renita's who was having the problem with the sound? Renita?
Good night.
Hi, Renita.
Hi.
Okay. Next question is for you. Your question is, name 2 issues or challenges, you might call the issue a challenge, that might affect HR and operational management relationship. Name 2 issues or challenges that might negatively affect HR and operational management relationship, and tell us why. Take your time and think about it.
Control costs.
Okay. We're talking now about the relationship between the HR department, and when we refer to operational management, we are talking about everybody else who is not in HR. That'll be like your accountant, your sales manager, your marketing manager, your floor manager, your this and that. So what are 2 issues that might cause friction between you and HR and some of those management people? What do you think?
It could be where you may have a manager who isn't suited for their job. And so they're not able to perform.
Yeah, but I'll ask you this though. Who are you to determine in HR to determine whether that manager is not suited for the job and can't perform? Because chances are, Renita, you would not have even been in on hiring him or her. Think about when we were talking about relationships, think about, you remember we made a long list of characteristics that we said that was important to have in job relationships? Remember those? Can you think of any of those?
Was this week 2? Was this from week 2?
Might have been from week 2. Don't worry about the week.
No, because that's the class that I missed, so I was
Oh,
trying to.
okay. That would have been week 2. Well, we talked about or some of the issues. Somebody else want to help out? Just 2 issues that you think could cause friction.
I'll try and help.
Let's go, Bridget.
Communication.
Oh.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bridget. Go ahead.
Communication.
Employee conflict.
Employee conflict.
Lack of recognition, like
Lack of recognition.
inadequate training for supervisors.
Okay, if you notice, I tried to steer Renita away from that one. That because it's that's a little dicey. But we talk about some things.
Okay.
Remember, we talk about we have to have things like trust. So, like if there's lack of trust, somebody mentioned communication. That's so important to be able to talk to each other. Honesty, so important. Integrity. All of those things, where those things are lacking, it's going to cause for it's going to make for problems, because then the relationship won't be as good as it should be. Renita, you did miss that. So what I want you to do is to go back in your resource guide and just catch up on those things, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's go to Lorraine's thing is dropping. So we can't answer that one. So roll, Denise? Right.
Yes,
Why
ma'am.
is it important for HR to understand and become very familiar with the environment and culture of the organization? Why is it important for HR to understand and know the environment and culture of the organization?
I believe that HR is one of those, is the department that has to look out for each and every thing in the business, but especially the way employees feel, or the way employees think they should feel and act in the organization. And human resources, or persons within the human resources department, play a key role in helping to motivate employees. And it's important for, I would say, us to understand the environment and culture, because you need to know how to proceed. You need to know how to deal with a certain type of people or type of person. What's accepted, what you can, let's say, joke about, before you even roll out a new policy or what have you. You have to understand what those persons believe, or what they hold dear and important, while at the same time understanding that the roles and the objectives of the company still needs to be met. So they have to kind of have the meet at the middle ground. in order to ensure things move a bit smoothly within the organization on both fronts, both management and in terms of the way the employees feel.
Okay, that's fair enough. Anybody else want to answer or have something to add to that? But I want to ask you to think
Understanding the culture.
Pardon?
The question was
Yeah,
understanding the culture, right?
The question was, why is it important for HR to understand and become familiar with the environment and culture of the organization?
Because the HR would have to enforce policies and procedures that govern
Absolutely.
HR related. So
Absolutely.
they have to understand the culture.
Absolutely.
If I may assist, HR would also be responsible for reinforcing the philosophy and beliefs of the company, coming from the core values and the direction that the company wants to go.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, as Roel was talking, the company that sort of came to my mind was Cable Bahamas. Do you all remember when Cable Bahamas was a fairly new company, how very effective, efficient, good customer service they gave and they had? And now sometimes
where did it go?
I am serious. I am serious. But so when you think about things like culture and environment, okay? And Lord knows, I mean, I don't like to say it, but sometimes I don't know how else to express it. But when Cable Bahamas was managed, run by people from a different culture, let me put it like that, it was different. And suddenly people of another culture took over and brought the dynamics of that other culture. Now, this is just this is how I see it.
Observation.
Into that organization. And to me, they don't get anything right. Nothing is right. Programming isn't right. Service isn't right. They can't even keep a program on TV no more. They don't give you no programs and they can't keep it on. And I'm wondering, does anybody sit down? I'm wondering what part, and they're supposed to have some powerful so-called HR people up there. And I'm wondering if anybody really sits down, looks at their organization, look at what is happening as opposed to what is not happening, and try to make it better. Do you really think you should have to wait for a service for 5 days and 6 days and 4 days before a technician or somebody can come out to you?
No, ma'am. And especially at the high cost we're paying for cable, that is ridiculous. They gave me $5 off my service for completing a service, and I did not go easy on them. Their customer service is horrible. I don't know why they paid that company all that money to do the survey, because there has been no change.
I think the problem with Cable Bahamas is the problem with most Bahamian companies. Let me not say Bahamian companies, but it's a problem with a lot of local companies, and that is there's no accountability. Even with government, there's no accountability. And so it's different if I work in customer service, if I'm in an entry-level position, and I'm afraid that someone's going to report me to my supervisor and there's going to be some repercussion, I'm going to act much differently then I know that me and supervisor are friends. I don't care if you report me because nothing's gonna happen. And so in addition to that, if now the supervisors reported to the manager and the manager ain't checking, why would the supervisor act right? Why would I act right? What is the punishment? You see, and I think where there's no accountability, that's when companies actually just disintegrate.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like you're the
You're
only sheriff in town. If I'm the only person providing cable service, you ain't going nowhere.
yes.
I don't have to
Yes.
worry. You're going to pay every
Yes.
month. It doesn't matter if you only could work 4 days out of the month. 4 is better than 0.
It's true.
So no, I'm serious.
And so
No,
4
it's
is
the
better than
truth.
0.
No,
There's
it's the
nobody else.
truth.
So
It's the truth.
So
what you
what
can
you're
do?
talking about provides a really good background for the question that we asked Renita, which was the 2 issues and challenges, because you talk about you talk about no real teamwork between managers and supervisors and people in role also talk about that, having to motivate employees and keep them wanting to work with the passion. Because I asked the last technician that came down to me, I wanted to understand why they took so long and stuff like that. So they are all like the way he explained it, like they're like contracted to do a certain amount of service calls. It's like before they were directly employed regular hours by cable. Now they're only employed based on what they do. I mean, they're paid based on what they do. And they have like, they give them, like he was saying, they get like an hour, depending on the job the customers say they need done, the service. They'll get like, you go there 1 hour, and then you have to go to the next person, like that. So it's, to me, all of that need to be sorted out, because that could be very demotivating.
But Miss Marcel, wouldn't you say that is a competitive strategy? I mean, I've been in banking for many, many years, and I was an operations manager. And my tellers, everybody just got it, and they were so competitive. It didn't mind that you were a teller and I was a AMO, or you answered the phone and I was a receptionist. Everybody got in it to win it as a team. And that competition was a part of our success in winning our customers.
Okay, and I will buy that. And this is why we talk about a lot of things, right? This is why we talked about like what are the goals? What are the strategic business goals? The strategic business goals may just be to make money and be better than the competition. Okay? The strategic business goals doesn't have to be providing good customer service. But I will tell you, years ago, obviously a strategic goal of that company was to provide excellent customer service. It's just like BTC now. I tell that Jamaican man, if he called me one more time on my phone to ask me about increasing package, because I'm sick of them. I am. And so you wonder, it's almost as if companies have gotten to the point where it's about how much money I can make by not paying out money. So this makes it harder on HR. And this is why HR has to have the negotiating skills. HR needs the influence to be sitting around that table, be able to steer them right and let them know the backlash that could happen from these things. And companies who are very, who have a lot of competition, they are more careful in how they do these things. But when you have no competition,
That's what I went to
you know,
say. That's what I went to say.
you
Competition causes good customer service. Yeah.
and then, Lord, please wash out my mouth. But when you have lousy HR people who the only thing they're concerned about is how big, and Jackie, this ain't you. All right? We're talking about them lousy people. We ain't talking about nobody in this class. All right? But when the only thing they're concerned about is how big their paycheck is. Okay? And there is a lot we don't know, but just by asking questions, if you are interested in HR, you'll find out. All right? It's like with one of our biggest food store chains. They don't have no heart for us. And the reason they don't have no heart for us is the more money they make, so where they could put up that 5 cents and 10 cents and whatever, the more money they bring in, the bigger their bonus. So managers, supervisors, purchasing agents and stuff, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care if they put half rotten fruits there because they know some fool can go and buy most of it. And this is, and like when you think like that, you really think they have people they call HR, but you really think it makes a difference? And honestly, that's where I would like to see a change, because sooner or later we can be doing ourselves in, you know, and especially on things just like we are doing right now. Plenty businesses are going to go totally, what you call this? Digital, virtual? I don't want to even think about it. But we honestly, we need to think about some of the things we're doing. So let's look at Greer, your turn. Greer, name 3 key personnel functions. No, Greer, I'm not going to ask you that because we kind of did that. So I'm not going to ask you that. Instead, let me ask you, what characteristics does an HR department have in common with managing a household?
Characteristics in common with HR management and managing a household.
Characteristics or functions or anything like that.
Right. So we definitely should start with morale. Function, the function of in reinforcing employee morale and increasing and maintaining a certain level. The quality of the production of the work within that business, the home, the chores, et cetera, not only the quality of the product, but we also want to focus on the production levels, right? So we want to motivate our staff to be more interested in what it is that they're doing. We want to ensure that they're fully trained and knowledgeable. I can't send my kids into the kitchen and tell them to wash the dishes if I don't teach them how to wash the dishes properly, mop the floor properly, so they have to be trained as well. Rewards and incentives are also important. Am I on the right track?
Yes, you are. Very much. That is exactly what has to happen in your home, right?
Yes,
so that will help you think of home and HR. There's something that she didn't get around to yet. That's real important in your home. That's real important in the workplace. that most of y'all scared to do?
Oh,
Organizational structure?
Discipline.
Discipline.
Discipline, yes,
Correction and discipline. Listen,
yes,
anytime
discipline and correction.
anytime you won't get in trouble, you try to discipline or correct a behavior.
Right.
And
So absolutely, discipline and correction.
discipline correction. So it's
Definitely.
very much the same. HR has the same sort of supportive role in the workplace that let's say a mama or somebody like that has in the
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. So Lorraine, let me make sure that's it.
The
Okay,
question may be what?
you are at an interview for a job.
Okay.
The interviewer asks you to share what you know about HR. Share.
Yeah. Okay. What I know about HR. HR is usually the heart and also the brain of an organization. It is usually where employment begins, and unfortunately, sometimes where employment also ends with any company. And basically, human resources is more of a mediator between employees and management, or line staff and management.
Okay, Lorraine, stop right. What you're saying is all true and right? But remember where you are. You are at an interview.
Oh, I'm speaking like I'm at an
and you're
interview.
speaking to this woman as to why she should offer you the job.
Okay. I just went blank.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Y'all help Lorraine out. She has to get this job.
I suck at interviews, but I'll give
Me
you a
too.
hand.
Yeah, that's all right. Come on, this is your time. You can't suck at them because one day in the future you may be sitting down as the interviewer. So tell her, tell her or him why you should get this job. You got to tell them some HR things.
Right.
My experience with onboarding, recruitment of new employees, creating policies and procedures. Also, I would intimately involved with payrolls, knowing all of the regulatory requirements where that is concerned, such as national insurance, contributions, creating a benefit package or looking for a better one for a job, health insurance, pensions, you name it. I'm your girl, man. I'm your girl.
Wellness program, team building. Team building.
Another very important skill would be the ability to mitigate and resolve conflicts among staff members. I think that's very important.
Yes, it is.
On top of all of that, I would also highlight my integrity, my commitment to meeting goals, my innovation, my commitment to continued learning, and to ensure staff also get onto that bandwagon and get excited about learning. My attention to detail, my positive attitude, and I think most importantly, the ability to work with so many types of personalities.
Versatility.
Lorraine.
Hi.
You listen to that last half?
And this could be the biggest lie of all. I love people.
I know. But that's the half, in a scenario like I asked you, remember now, they'll be looking at your resume and they will see your limited HR actual practical experience.
Right.
So the thing that's going to sell you more than anything, you started, giving a basic knowledge of HR, but they know you don't have any experience. So you need some other things to help you. And those are all the personal strengths that you have that role so adequately put out, Really, really important amongst them is the ability to communicate, because you're going to learn what to do. Once you're offered that job, you're going to learn what to do from a team of people, a management team, and then those employees. And it'll fall into place. So you want to really, really highlight your personal strengths, okay? As well as she's going to see the fact that you did a course, or he's going to see that you've done a course, okay? So you learn the mechanics in the course. Like all y'all were talking, like, Jackie was putting them out. You learn the mechanics in the course, but now you actually have the opportunity, and you need those personal skills to be able to translate the mechanics into action things that you're going to do, making that department. Eugenia?
Eugenia is the one whose sound isn't working.
Eugenia, okay. I haven't heard from Adina. You with me? I haven't heard from Adina. Adina, you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you did our characteristics necessary for the positive job relationship, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you sure?
I think so, yeah.
No, we must be need to do this again. I don't know why. Name 4 characteristics necessary for a positive job relationship, and explain why you didn't do that. We did. So 4 characteristics that an HR person should have in order to have a positive job relationships with colleagues. Let's put it like that, because HR always has to work in particular with managers and supervisors, and then have to provide the counseling for the employees. So what are 4 of those characteristics?
Great customer service. I'm sorry. Great communication. Great communication.
Yes.
You said 4 characteristics necessary for. You repeat the question again?
4 characteristics necessary for a positive job relationship.
Transparency.
Right.
Integrity.
Integrity, yes. One more.
I
I
think
guess
the
an
customer.
openness.
Okay.
Did you say
Being,
openness?
yes, like
That
being
would be
open.
transparency.
Okay.
Come
What
on,
about,
think about
because
it.
don't we need internal customer care as well? So when she mentioned customer service, but that's not a characteristic. Okay,
No.
I'm gonna be quiet.
Think about, no, don't be quiet. Just think about yourself. Think about you. And think about what, don't you all have relationships in your workplace?
Is accountability or flexibility in that as well?
Yes, they are.
Mm.
Just see, just what you need to be, which is what I'm trying to get across, and apparently not doing a very good job. But there are some things that you have to have first before you could expect it from anybody else.
Trust.
Reliability.
Yeah, that's right.
Patience.
And supportive.
I'm
You
sorry?
have to be supportive of each
Yes,
other.
you have to be supportive. You have to, all of the things that you are, these are things you're all supposed to be in the workplace.
I have a combination of compassion mixed with good common sense.
That's absolutely necessary for HR. That word compassion, good sense, fairness, firmness, all of those are HR.
Empathy.
HR requires empathy.
I noticed one thing we don't, or maybe I don't know if I missed it, that we haven't really discussed, or maybe we haven't discussed it yet, that I think is so vital for human resources, and that's confidentiality.
Absolutely.
I think that is so vital, and I
That
think
is paramount.
with our Bahamian culture, though, I think that is breached over and over because we live so familiar and we work so familiar. That is, I mean, terribly breached in most companies, in a lot of companies.
Absolutely. It is. And again, it goes back to the culture of an organization and the core values. If it is allowed,
Right.
okay, it will become a disease. And remember, we just talked about one of the hardest things in an organization is the whole matter of correction and discipline. It's very difficult. And one of the reasons it's difficult is because there is no set procedure for how these things ought to be done. And where there is a set procedure, you find people not following the procedures. Because I ran into many instances where managers would come to me and they say, Ms. Marcel, we have to get rid of this person. And I would say, why? Well, they haven't been doing what they were doing. And I'm sick and tired of talking to them. And la, 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 la. And I would say, okay. So you talk to them. Do you have any evidence? Well, I talk to them. I always talking to them. Did you ever write somebody a warning note or a corrective note or something? No, but I can't work with them. I'm working with them anymore. And what's so sad is that they don't understand, and these are like other managers and supervisors, they don't understand when you tell them, no, you can't do it like that. And then that's where you have to be a very firm HR person to say, okay, here are our policies and procedures. But then again, you need to have policies and procedures. And that is an HR's Bible. Employee manual.
Ms. Marshall, I think that's where we have to also learn how to not get so emotional about things or allow persons to get too much into their feelings, because that's where the fine line comes, because of course you have to have empathy and what have you, but you have to have the wherewithal to stand up to persons, to let them know, listen, I understand where you are coming from, but let's look at this from a logical perspective now, and try to list out the things. This is what you're saying, this is what is expected, and then we go from there. But I think a lot of the times we get too much into our feelings, which causes a whole other type of issue that, can blow up into, just chaos.
Absolutely. So let me ask you all this. Are you all beginning to understand why we started off the way we did? Why it is so important for you to understand your organization, for you to understand the type of environment, for you to understand the culture of that environment. I think that the best example of trying to understand environment and culture of an organization is looking at the public sector. And any entity in the public sector you pick is a nightmare. On paper, they have the structure down pat and all the dynamics of the structure. But when it comes to doing things, people do whatever it is they want to do. To the other extreme, in my humble opinion, are some of our banks and stuff and the way they're structured. They kind of tough. So you need to find that middle where you're working or the work is being done in the interest of the company and the people. But I don't know if you all noticed this, but I feel over the last, I would say 10 years or so, maybe from the days of the financial depression, I think that would have been around 2008, 2009, when we really, y'all can't even remember that because God's been so good to y'all, right? But y'all remember the what the United States call it?
The
greatest
recession
since the Big Depression.
Depression, yeah.
The recession. But financially things got a little tough. And they never bounced back to the level they were before all this mess started for us, which really started with I guess, Dorian. We were, we were coming back to levels, but then we had the Dorian disaster, and then we had the COVID. And the sad thing about it is, we can't even think about these things. You know what I'm saying? Because I wonder sometime as I go around or as I talk to people I know and stuff like that, I'm wondering if anything adverse is happening. I know the central bank is saying that, our economy has dropped way down. And I know we have borrowed, last time I heard on news, $1.5 billion. But nothing is growing. Nothing is, and I don't know if people, do you all get the feeling that people are absorbing this and understanding this? Or it's just like business as usual? I got a
I
job
think
doing
that's
that.
a
People
part of
are,
our culture. We just don't care. We may not have a
no.
job, but we can have our nails and hair done and priorities. I just,
Yeah.
we don't think of that rainy day. And that is something that I guess I'm kind of passionate about and think we need to institute in the schools from primary school on teaching these kids how to save and how to think differently as it relates to their spending habits. Because our culture is, who did the song, Ronnie Butler? We live from paycheck to paycheck. And only God's grace, I feel, keeping our country.
I feel the same way. And I also feel getting really tired. But here's the sad part. Remember that question we asked, like what characteristics, right, does like HR have in common to home? Because people always say we need to teach our people in the schools. But I always think the opposite. You have to start teaching them the right thing at
home.
Not in the school, because no matter what the school teaches them when they come back home, they're lousy parents. I'm serious. They go against everything. You're going to try to teach them about saving when you want to give a 5-year-old a cell phone.
Yeah.
And mostly for the 5-year-old to play
games,
put YouTube on and play Wrong and Wrong the Roses or whatever. Do y'all understand what we do?
Candy Crush, yeah. We
sit back
do that
and blame everybody else and don't take, we don't want to take the blame for anything.
Responsibility.
Someone said accountability.
That's right.
It's very important.
I got into trouble at work when I first started working in HR, when I brought up this very subject about financial planning or lack thereof when it came to our employees and the frightening number of loans that they were allowed to get, whether they qualified or not.
Yes.
And I saw in my 13 or little almost 14 years there now, people come and they go, and some leave without anything.
Yes.
Be careful, Jackie.
It's frightening.
We have some CB personnel on in this class. Be careful now.
All financial institutions, and I work for one.
Yeah,
I find it frightening. I find that frightening.
I'm actually with Jackie because a few years back, our bank noticed that a lot of our employees were doing the same thing, and in a lot of instances, they were the main culprits in terms of overdrawn accounts.
Yes.
And how could you be telling people or advising people how to manage their accounts when you're not managing your own?
Exactly. How can you be a financial advisor? You're right.
Exactly.
Yes,
and so the bank had to put something in place. Listen, you got to get your stuff together. You need to manage your finances that you're not overdrawn, or we're going to close that current account. And you're going to open a savings account, which cannot be overdrawn.
Correct.
And so when a lot of them kicked up, mind you, they kicked up. How you could tell us this and tell us that? No. We supposed to be providing a service.
Prudent, and right.
And how can you tell someone to do this, and your own all out of whack?
Yeah.
No. And so that's what they did. And because of that, a lot of the employees, after a while, they were able to reopen their checking accounts after showing that they were able to manage
it better. Yes.
Their paycheck, manage everything within their paycheck. You had to show them. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 months. I'm telling you, it took years for some employees.
Yes.
But they had to take a hard stance with that one.
And that's why I said earlier, there's a combination of compassion and common sense, because people come to you with the saddest of stories. They come to you today, and then tomorrow they coming right back, and then the next day they coming right back, and the sad story is gonna get worse. That violence.
It was so bad. There were employees who were taking off their mortgage payments before the system could hold it. If they got paid sometime like the day before. And you know, this is the same thing what we were arguing with the police force with. You say you're gonna have the money there and you take it off before. He's put in it now. If you are subject to being fired.
Yeah.
If you are not paying your mortgage.
Mortgage, yeah.
Or any loan, actually, any loan.
Yeah.
So guess
one of the things that I am passionate about at work, I am like uber passionate, is that pension.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see persons using their pensions,
dipping in and
when
out
they
of
walk
that.
out the door, and that is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. We're supposed to be the keepers of certain benefits.
Yeah.
And one of the things, especially if you have policies in place where you're not supposed to, unless it's death, don't come to me.
So guess what? Everything we are talking about, we had the opportunity to go through. Because what you all are talking about, you're talking about the roles and the influence that HR should have. When you get a chance and you go back to that would have been our second session. The last page on that, page before the activity, page 4, we talked about business strategy. Remember, there were 2 circles. I don't know if you remember. One had in business strategy, then one had strategic HR management, human resources, and where the 2 circles intersected, it had leadership. Then we talked about the approaches that HR should have and what HR was responsible for. And here's what you all were just discussing. HR as a liaison specialist. What does that mean? It means it helps groups and people and all that to understand what it is they're doing. We talked about HR as the stabilization specialists, the coordinators. HR has to have the influence. So when you sit, because you should be sitting on that management team. So all the things you all were just describing, right? You all should be able to advise that team of some of these things that are happening. So that now that's how you get to redo policy and because sometimes you have to change it, or sometimes you just have to tweak it, you have to improve it. And then you make sure HR that those policies and procedures are properly monitored and enforced. HR could be a huge job, huge, but it depends on the kind of influence that you can exert. And people are going to give you the respect they think you deserve. And they don't know what you're capable, holy thought from McGuire, and what you deserve until you put yourself out there. You can't be afraid. When you see stuff like that happening, you should be able, Roll, to make some memo to whatever and say, listen, we need to do something about this. Because it borders on ethics now. Because when you know, Jackie, that you are giving people and allowing people to get what they should not get, that's unethical. And if you all remember it might have been, I think it was after 2007, but poor Mr. Ingram, Prime Minister Ingram, had, I don't know if he had done it or he had made the proposal. He wanted, remember, I don't know if you all remember, but he wanted to cap what could have come out of civil
Take home
pay.
25%. They're supposed to have 25% net pay, and that was done. But then we've had subsequent disasters, and they relaxed it.
Because I know when I at the agency, I had a couple of people who had about more than 90% of their salaries come out in bills. How?
We had a staff member when I first worked there. They're no longer there. Who used to be taking home every pay period? I tell you no lie, $14.
Be careful,
I had
some
one taking home
CD
19.
people on the line. Be
I had one
careful.
taking home 19.
Oh, they're no longer employed. I'm not telling you.
Okay.
No, please don't.
It's an ethical, you have to balance that too. And that's why you need to know, like I said, that organization's culture, environment, core values, the things that guide you. Because you know, the way you were talking, you have to change your policies, because if somebody, before you get to take off their mortgage money, their mortgage that's so important, they done go on and take it off.
But Miss Marcel,
there has to be something you can do to make sure that can happen.
Miss Marcel, now remember now the bankers, they have a target to make. And so the lenders, have a target to make. And it's very hard because our economy is pretty much saturated. You're just recycling clients. And so if that HR, certain HRs I know, they have a max and that's it. But boy, I don't know.
I think probably that's where HR still needs to step in, because there can be instances where persons are so stressed to make this target.
Yes.
That it almost forces them to do things that aren't recommended.
Exactly.
For lack of a better word.
Correct.
And so that's where HR still needs to step in and say, now listen, management, we understand we need to make this, we have to do that. But at the same time, we have to make sure our employees are in a place where they feel safe.
Yes.
That they're going to lose their job if they don't meet targets or anything like that. We can't have that.
Yes.
Because the worst thing you could have is a person who is prone to anxiety, and you have them working for you. You could cause all kind of.
Absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
You know what you push them to do? The next thing, if they in place where they're able to, the next thing they're siphoning off my little that I have in the bank.
Exactly. And not only that, not even the stealing part of it, they can have nervous breakdowns.
Yes.
So you're causing someone to go on sick leave, which is again causing problems on the organization.
Exactly.
So you know, it's a whole
gamut of things
that it has to be balanced.
Yes. And that's why when I say to you all, when you all have your homework assignments and stuff to do, and don't give me no one word and no one sentence and crap like that. Okay? You justify what it is you're recommending and what it is you're saying. Because I will tell you, operational management, when they want to see something that they believe could work out, we have a habit of just going and saying, but we should do this and we should do that and that. But you got to follow it through to the conclusion. In other words, we call it outcomes. So when they look at that and they say, well, we could try this because it might work. Not just a bunch of, oh, this is what we should do. Why we should do it? What are the expectations from doing it? This is the outcome we expect. So let's try it, because guess what? If you try it, you can always, and it doesn't work, you can always backtrack and try something else. Greer, I didn't forget. I hope you jotted down that thought somewhere. You were going to say something about 5 minutes ago.
I'm sorry, but you brought me to a very serious realization when you spoke about the company taking HR seriously and taking me seriously. We had a board meeting the other day. Finance was present, the head of operations was present, the board, the directors were present, but there was no sign of HR. So how does the company plan on moving forward if there's no representation of the people and the human element of what it is that we do? How is it that I'm able to accomplish or encourage or motivate this team to meet the goals that this discussion was based on if I'm not privy to where we're trying to go?
So what you gonna do about it?
You got me thinking.
Yeah, because she has to communicate that to the people.
That's right. You communicate with your boss and you make a case for why HR should be sitting there.
Yes.
At all of those, those executive meetings and those decisions, HR should be there, because it's the people who have to make everything happen.
Right, exactly.
So, but you have to make that case. If you just sit there, right, HR wasn't understand, you don't say nothing.
No, it just happened. It just took place a few days ago, and you just took me right. You just hit the nail on the head. That's something that I wanted to address.
No, child. But like I say, you have to earn it. This is why I'm not being.
I think that's what it is.
Yes, and so I am not. Trust me here. Yes, may go by. I may be older and more feeble. I'm already gray, so I can't say old and feeble and gray. So I'd be older and more feeble. But somewhere, I want you all to remember, I thought Miss Marcel was talking foolishness when we was going through that class. But, I see some of it manifesting itself. Manifesting itself in what I do. And like I say, remember, not everybody is going to get into HR as a specialist or a generalist. But every manager and all y'all HR people, you make your people understand this. Every manager needs to know how HR functions, what its duties and responsibilities are, and how it functions. It will make your life a lot easier. Yeah? And managers have a way of thinking, nobody could teach them nothing, tell them nothing, because they know everything. All right? I've been right there where some of you are and some of you will be. That's how they are. But when it's like that, you get the boss on your side. And you got to do it. You have to do it differently. For example, they mightn't want to, sit in a class and say they learned anything, get a certificate. Okay, don't matter that they don't know nothing. I may as well brief you. But you may have to do it in a different way. HR may have to have them to a breakfast meeting. Your company can have a problem with you buying 2 dozen donuts. 2 dozen donuts, some grapes, some tea, some coffee. That's how you get them. So you get them in and make sure you're talking to them about issues that are meaningful to them, like rude staff who they're too scared to discipline and correct. Like, like any issues to deal with that, like motivation issues and incentives and rewards and all of those sorts of things. And you have to make them feel, child, as human beings, you have to much them up and make them feel like, they managers sitting around the table having a grape. Never mind that. You do what you have to do to get it done. And you're the one that's going to be looked at as holding your company together. And you can get to that place where you are seen as the glue, and then everybody is going to begin to trust you. All those managers that, at first, once they realize that you're not competing with them and trying to take their employees, and I tell people this, some HR people have a way of referring to everybody in the organization as my employees. Don't do that. If you want to build relationships, don't do it. Your employees are those ones who work with you in the HR department. Everybody else is our employees, but managers get mad when you want to chip off their, what they're supposed to do, their function, their people, their employees. And that's where you have to build some personal relationships.
Ms. Marcel,
Mm-hmm.
I had the opposite issue to that.
Mm-hmm.
The complete opposite,
Mm-hmm.
where managers are comfortable sending all of the issues to HR rather than dealing with them themselves. In fact, they have an issue when I say, well, that's a problem, that's an issue that you should be dealing with your staff.
And here's the thing. I find it perhaps challenging or difficult well, I guess it depends on the circumstance. If it would depend on what the issue is that the manager wants you to deal with. Suppose a manager sends a staff to you and say, you need to deal with that staff about the staff attitude and all of that. Before I deal with that, that manager would actually have to sit with me and give me some real examples of what he or she is talking about. This person being rude and all kind of things. Because you see, you always have to remember or be, not remember, but be cognizant of the fact that my attitude could be in direct response to yours.
Right.
Okay? And it doesn't mean I have a bad attitude to you. But if you are a manager and you are my manager, surely you should treat me with a level of courtesy and manners and respect.
Right.
So don't come talking to me any kind of way and shouting down at me and telling me all sorts of things. And I'm supposed to look at you and smile. You understand? So
yes,
you have to understand the issue. And so if it's something as subjective as that and personal as that, then that manager should sit with you and that employee.
Now, I'm not talking about something like that. And in cases like that, what I have normally done is I would speak, like you said, first with the manager to get their take on it, meet with the staff separately, and then have a meeting with the two so that we can air and talk and communicate and try to make as safe as environment as I possibly can with the two. But that's not the issue that I'm talking about. There's simple things like your staff came late. Your staff is late like 40 times, throwing that out there. And I'm sending you the attendance records. And I'm saying to you, this is an issue that you need to speak speak to your staff about before I become involved, because you're the manager or you're the supervisor. I'm trying to empower you to manage your staff. If I step in there, then I'm doing your job.
Well, let me ask you this though. How do you know if you're the HR person, wouldn't the manager have to communicate with you the lateness of the staff?
They should, but they don't. And I know because we have a biometric clock and all of the information comes to me. So when I run that report, which isn't done daily or, it's done like monthly, I would send them the record so that they can review, because sometimes you're busy. And if you notice that there's a trend building, you shouldn't have to wait for me to come to you. You should be aware enough to know that this person isn't in place on time, at least 20 of the 40.
That's right.
I should have addressed it. But your response to me is, that's not my issue, that's an HR problem.
That's a management problem.
Exactly.
Okay? That's a management problem. Because if I am your manager, you think you could come into my department late, out of the ordinary? Are you kidding me?
So how do you, sorry, go on.
I think sometimes, at least I've observed this, the manager does guide. So if it's anything positive that's going on, then the manager wants to take on the management role. And once it's something negative, they want to push that over to human resources, because this is my employee. I still have to work with this person every day. I don't want to be the bad guy. You know what I mean? I want the problem fixed, but I don't think I should have to address it. So I'm going to roll it over to somebody who I think should address it. I need it fixed.
That was actually one of the excuses I got.
That's what it is.
I mean, but I got to work with these people. Like, you know how hard it is for me to get them to do stuff?
They don't want to be the bad guy, but they want the results. They want the results, though. They want the results.
Yeah, exactly.
They want the results and the pay.
Yeah, that's all.
So
importantly.
So HR people. So how would you deal with what Jackie just talked about? How would you tackle that, Bridget? I ain't heard from you for a while. How would you tackle that?
Like she was saying, have a meeting with the manager separately, then with the staff, then have them together to resolve the problem.
You think you could get?
I would say when all else fails, the talking, the coaching in terms of the manager,
the pen and paper.
Is there any way for you to incorporate that into their performance appraisal?
And that should be.
It is expected.
Tardiness should be
that they follow whatever they supposed to report or keep record of and advise HR or something like that. Because if it's in their performance appraisal and they really can't, I bet you they can start looking at it from then.
Get that right.
They should.
Because it's going to affect the bottom line.
It's going to affect the bottom line. That's what I would suggest. If all else fails. That's just
But there should already be something in the handbook. There should already be something in writing that speaks to
tardiness.
Yes. So it isn't even an HR or management issue. It's already here.
Correct.
It's already in black and white.
It's a company
It's not up to my opinion. It's not up to your opinion. It's not how you feel, how I feel. Who wants to tell them? Who doesn't want to tell them? It's right here.
Okay.
What I resorted to is telling them that, hey, either you write your staff or communicate with your staff, or I write you. What do you want?
I wish I had 5 thumbs to stick up at you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, that's a culture I came from.
Exactly what I would do.
My staff not coming to work and not coming on time. I was getting right up why your staff don't want to come to work. It must be you, eh?
Plus,
so, child, I had to fix it.
That's that accountability we was talking about earlier.
Yes.
They make you accountable so that you can make your staff accountable.
Yes, child. I had to fix it, child.
Jackie, that is what, honestly, that is what I would do. And remember, we were talking about maybe the little breakfast meetings and stuff like that. Let me tell you something, guys. You all really think managers know plenty, but I will be on the side of them knowing a little bit. Okay? So you have lots of opportunities to tell them, not, I won't use the word tell, sound a little harsh, to suggest to them based on those policies and procedures how this should be done. Correction is to flow from the manager to HR. In that case, HR acts more as a monitor and custodian of the correction, as opposed to HR don't make the correction and send it to the employee. You understand? You don't write the little warning slip. You don't do that. The manager has to do that. And that comes and HR puts that on the file. Okay? Now, when HR is looking at performance appraisal, when you pull out Marcel's, when you get Marcel's performance appraisal from that manager, then you edit that or go over that along with my file. The reason for that is when that manager put, under tardiness, always good attendance or whatever they put, and they put above average or outstanding, and you go to that same file where that person was late 20 or 40 times, then you have to challenge the manager on that. But that's the kind of role that HR is supposed to do. The other thing is, you may have a standard a standard warning note that you may sign off on beside the manager. Got to be two. If you're going to sign, or if HR is going to sign, it's got to be two signatures. The managers and HR. But never just HR, because you are going to catch hell for doing it without them. And remember now, there is now plenty of money involved with getting rid of people. Okay? And that's something HR have to know, what them labor laws say and what people are entitled to. They're entitled to plenty of money these days. So don't let no manager cost you your job. Let them do theirs. And like I say, one way to gently clue them in on some things they really don't know, one way to do that is to have, little meetings with them. And you schedule the meeting, you let them know, what it is you want to talk about, because, you notice some things. And do, like I say, the easiest thing to do is the little morning meetings. Now, here's the thing that one of the things I notice about people. They never seem to have the time for anything because they're always in a meeting. And I want to know, in a meeting doing what? Always in a meeting. You have to make time for the important things. Because half the time they're sitting down there just talking round and round the roses. So HR, that's where you begin to use your influence. Now, who did I miss? Who did not get their question? Because this is important. This is a part of your class mark. Who didn't get a question? Bridget, you got your question, right?
I didn't get one, but give me a really, really easy one.
Sure, I can give you that one that was there. Let me see. Okay. I'll give you this one. We talked about that. Explain how you can use the knowledge gained from this class to benefit your organization.
Well, as we had discussed the other day, one of the things that I am taking to heart about this class is the concept of presentation, from the little to the big. How you present yourself, the image that you portray really gives off I'm trying to think of really, really big words. The it identifies who you are.
The persona.
The persona.
Work with that.
Thank you. I couldn't think of that.
It portrays the persona that you want out there, and it also it's a branding of who you are as an organization, and HR can play a pivotal role in that, with ensuring that staff are wearing the correct uniform, if that's the uniform, or dressing in the manner that you want to portray to the general public. So that's one of the things in your long spiel that you threw out the other day about presentation and pretty paperwork. I got.
Excuse me just a minute, just let me write this. Let me tell you, I totally agree with you. How you present yourself and how you carry yourself, people treat you just like that. You don't have to go overboard. You don't have to, you don't have to, it's just a blessed assurance that some people have. Okay? Because honestly, sometimes I look in the workplace and I wonder how people expect to be taken seriously. But people look at you certain ways here. Let me tell you all. How you dress, how you carry yourself. People think some things in their head. I have operated at the very top, not only in Bahamas, but many places in this world, and I see how creatures carry on. Okay? Sometimes, for example, in some organizations, I see young women who go for, I guess they think is sexy. They wear them little pants. If they, them little suit pants and things so tight, if they pass wind, they'll bust up. Okay? The little jacket, at least 2 sizes too small and could hardly hold the button. You know,
that's the style.
Yeah, but you watch, you know, it's important. It's important to broaden your horizons. Okay? Turn on your TV sometimes and see how business people, if you want to be a business, but see how business people dress. You understand what I'm saying? Very, If
When the
women,
dress too short, they can't even pick up the pen, they
listen,
drop.
I know you're going far, but dress too short. If women hear some of the things men talk about them,
But the man just as bad. The men now who wear suit and stuff is very tight, extremely tight.
listen, I agree the world changed.
Yeah.
Okay? The
And
world,
what's with these new hairstyles these days?
you
These
know,
young people are coming to work in, man, with their hair all braided and rolled and plait or whatever you want to call
Freedom
it.
of
wrong with
expression is what it's
plaits?
called now.
I thought you
It,
meant the colors.
it's called freedom of
I
expression.
believe
And you have
I
to be
am creating a policy with colors, and I just put that in my
be,
HR
They call that
be careful.
discrimination.
Be
attire.
careful. That can be seen as
I said the
discrimination.
color of
what?
hair has
No,
to
no,
be
no.
found
No, it's funny.
naturally.
At,
Oh,
I'm
Jackie,
telling
Jackie,
you,
at,
Jackie. You
be
better
at my
very
think with
company,
careful
because I work
yourself
for
Jackie.
before you do it.
Be
because I
very
work for a
careful.
global company, and the rules at DHL Bahamas has to be the exact rules as DHL Paris and DHL in China and DHL in Sri Lanka and so on. When it comes to appearance, everything is considered discrimination. And
Yeah.
so our hair could be purple and orange. Our hair could touch the floor. Our nails could be
Piercings,
nails.
tattoos.
We allowed any piercings we want. There's no restrictions on how we
Wow.
look. There's
Wow.
no
Wow.
restriction on how we look, and there's no restriction on what
Try
we
that at
wear.
CB or some other financial
Oh
institution.
no,
See, but
oh no.
they
Financial
see they
institutions
aiming.
don't play that.
No,
They
yes,
that's
Royal
the
Bank, you
aiming.
can wear your hair twined in colors.
But here's the thing though. This is
For
where,
orange?
no, see, this is where
Uh-huh.
your culture, your core values, your environment make a difference, okay? Because you set out what goes for your company.
Organization, yes.
Because in the National Training Agency, you wasn't gonna have no all kind of color hair, like purple and green and you know
Purple is my favorite color.
that when a girl
And
actually
then see what we
with she had purple hair. She was a marketing young lady and could probably
sit down to
get
support
that
us
job
holding
very
it
well.
down.
But I told her I'm real sorry, we don't do purple.
But what we consider a fad or fashion, in some countries that's the culture. Like with in India, the nose ring or whatever, that's like a normal thing to them. To us, that's a fad, or to us, that's fashion. So like I say, because DHL is a global company and a nose piercing in India is a normal or maybe a religious thing, they can't say no nose piercing. So you can't tell me in India, oh, you could have nose piercing, but you can't have it in the Bahamas. So they just left it open where anybody can have anything. The only thing they want to make sure is that you're comfortable and you get your work done.
Yeah, but
And really and truly, the work gets done.
okay, so guess what? I'm not arguing that. Okay? I am saying that an organization has the opportunity to set its values and policies. They don't change. I don't have to discriminate against you. I just don't have to hire you. And I don't have to tell you I'm not hiring you because you have plats, because you can't tell me who I
Yes,
can hire and not hire.
which is true because our old general manager, he does not like locks. And so he never said it, of course, to the candidate, but
That's right.
we knew that his personal thing was he does not like locks. We have people who have locks now to work with us because he's no longer there. And then he also does not like people like that. And so we know when a person walk in the door, we just say to ourselves, it don't matter what this person says, they're not going to get this job. It don't matter how qualified they are, they're not going to get this job. That was his personal thing, but it wasn't a company thing. But you're right. You still have at the end of the day, you still have the right to hire whoever you want without telling anybody what the reason is.
Exactly.
Company norms.
And shouldn't you also have the right to determine what branding image you want to portray that sets you apart?
You mean at DHL?
No, DHL has a branding
But
image.
okay.
Yours is laissez-faire. Anything goes.
Anything goes. But what they
Anything
say is
goes.
they do tell you to to think global and act local. So if it's one or two little things you want to change or whatever, then once it doesn't have anything to do with employee rights. If it's something else that you want to change that you think could work better in your country, because not everything that they set out is going to work in every country and every culture.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you can say, well, hey, it works better over here. All DHL in the world open 8:30 to 5:30 Monday to Friday, no weekends. And if you live in a country where, let's say, it's more feasible for you to do Saturday deliveries, they will allow you to open on Saturday.
Okay.
Like small things like that. Once it doesn't have anything,
Yes.
if it doesn't have anything to do with, it's not going to impact the employees in a negative way, they more or less let you, take the lead with that.
But that's your brand. That's who you are. You guys have set that up. But
Absolutely.
other companies should have the right to say, look, a part of our company policy on grooming or attire or the image that we want you to portray is you should, if you have locks, we want you to have it neat. We don't want to see it all over the place. If you have plaits, that has to be needed every time. You can't come in with it straggly one day.
I agree, but then
you
too,
have
I
to
think it's
wear a
on the
particular
employee.
uniform, and
I think it's on the
Jackie,
employee. Like me,
don't
we're
we-
allowed to do anything we want, but I'm still not going to go to work in open-toe shoes. I'm still not going to go to work
and
in
that's another policy we have.
something that shows my armpits. I'm still not, like, certain things that I pick up and I have pride in myself.
That sounds like
we
a
allowed to do
personal thing, the
anything.
way you were
Yeah,
brought up.
ethics.
That's what
Yeah.
that
Right,
sounds
and that's
like.
what I'm saying.
Her
So it's
personal
still,
But
it's
that's
You
still
not
on the
a
love that.
employee.
company policy.
It's not a
though.
company
That's not
policy,
a
but
company
Right.
if you have
policy.
pride in
That's
yourself,
here.
if you have pride in yourself, and if you have pride in your parents, it's certain things you're still not going to do.
But let me tell
Even
you
though it's not a
something.
company
If I
policy.
work with
Jackie.
DHL, I'd be coming to work in pajamas. I would. And slippers. I don't have a problem with it if that's the environment or the thing that you do. I'm saying that if you have
Yeah.
a different standard, you have to adhere to those standards.
Jackie, you
Right.
so hard, man.
I
No, but
know. I'm loved
Jackie, because
too.
even us with natural hairs have bad hair days. Come
I'm
on,
natural.
Jackie.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
natural.
but
What are
you
you
could
talking
Natural
about?
always
Me
pull
too.
that back in one and make it presentable.
Yeah.
That is
Pull
where
it
Jackie
back.
is coming from.
I don't
Make
want to
it
work for you either.
presentable.
Make it.
Don't come in
I
my
have
job.
natural hair.
Exactly. Don't come in on the man job looking any old kind of way.
Exactly.
I need you to
iron your
be
clothes.
professional.
I shouldn't have to
Oh
tell
my
you to iron your
yes.
clothes.
I love
That's
this. And
basics.
this is why.
Yeah, no.
That is basic.
This is what learning is about. Because what we are talking about now goes back to where we started, right?
Yes.
Culture, environment, the purpose of your organization, the clients you service, and all of that. This is what we are talking. So an organization has the ability to set out
The standard.
its standards, its policies, its
And procedures.
its core values, its branding, its image. HR's job now is to protect that. Because say, for example, you're looking for a job, you know, or you're interviewing for a job, and you know somebody who, is a nice person and need the job, but they don't fit a lot of your things. And there's someone else who fits what you really need. But you want to do someone a favor and let them in to get a job. That's where a lot of the problems come in. The second thing is HR is responsible for setting up a good orientation induction program. You cannot do it in a day, especially in a bigger organization, or 2 days. Because that first day of orientation, the only thing people remember is when they must start and how much they're going to get paid. They don't remember nothing else you tell them. Okay? And so during orientation induction, you have another opportunity to indoctrinate your company's values in those people. Then it goes further than that. You have a probationary period where you can work with them, at the end of which you keep them or let them go at very little, if any, cost to you at all. But if you are doing your jobs, if HR and the operational manager who the people work with or work under, if you all are not keeping a close eye, not monitoring, not doing the things you should do, then before you know it, things that get out of hand. And then people start to, well, if I want to color my hair, why can't I color my hair? And you're discriminating against me because that means that you have not indoctrinated them properly. And that also means that you begin to be slack in the organization. Okay, as a member of parliament, I was at the Ministry of Labor for a few months, and y'all know the slippers? I can't tell you, some of them, some young ladies just don't have no pride. They have no pride, no shame,
no one raised them.
and they come up wiggling and whining. Some of them toe push through slippers, the little dress way up there. And I asked, you know what I used to ask them? Every now and then I would say to someone, aren't you embarrassed? You ever see the way the minister comes to his office? Always in a suit and tie. You are working in the ministry. You ever see the way your PS comes to the office? Always properly dressed. I tell him, look at me. Y'all see how I come in here? What is wrong with you all? But I also noticed something. The men don't say nothing. And they be right there looking at them sloppy Joes.
But to be fair to certain people, and I have always taken this one thing to heart. You don't know what their circumstances are. So we got to be a little bit balanced in our judgment.
And listen,
Jackie, pride.
Honestly, don't know. They were like Lorraine said earlier. They were not taught. They don't know. This to them, this is a natural thing.
No upbringing.
And it's just taking time to pull them aside and say, look, let's have a talk. Let's have a talk.
That's why this needs to start from in high school.
And they don't pay you no mind. And you know why that is? Because there are no standards that are set.
But that's when you pull them aside, that is when you address what the standards are and what the expectation. You have to be clear with that.
They should know that, and I am disagreeing because that's a big part of what they should know when they come there.
From day one.
That's like common sense.
The thing is, if you don't have that kind of dressing, how do I know that you're going to be able to do my job? If you know what I mean? If you don't have that basic thing.
Yeah, because you're going to be distracted. Yeah.
So that goes right back to recruitment.
Yes.
And selection. Now, granted, you don't have sometimes, especially at the lower levels, you don't have much choice in the public sector. But in the private sector, you all don't have that excuse.
But Miss Marcel, do you know when I was in human resources, I was responsible for entry level recruitment. I basically took care of all of the hiring for all of the tellers. And my number one pet peeve was lateness. I could not stand that. If you had to be late, give me a call. There were persons who sometimes used to come up 10 minutes after the time you're supposed to come. I usually gave them, say, between 10 and 15 minutes grace. Because remember, I have other appointments after you. Now, if you don't call me and let me know that you are going to be late, and you just come sitting up 15 minutes later,
next,
I'm going to have to reschedule you.
That's right.
Probably to next week or the week after, because you are not respecting my time. At least I'm going to reschedule you, but you're not
But see,
respecting my
Janice,
time. So how do I know you're going to come to work early?
That's right.
see, Janice, sometimes it's the manager's fault because the managers don't be on time.
And that
You're
is
correct. You're
That's
correct.
true.
You're
That's
correct.
true. But
Employees are looking at you.
I understand that, but we're going back to the hiring phase.
yes.
These are the persons who are coming in. Now, if you can't
Yeah.
be early for an interview,
Then
When you're
Yeah.
supposed to put
makes
your
me
best
think
foot
you're
Something
going to
forward.
wrong.
be, and
Yeah.
you're going to
You're starting
respect
off
all of
wrong.
the other, right, you're going to,
that's
Yeah.
the red flag.
I
You're
look at
starting off
how you
wrong.
look during this interview.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
You understand? So all these things, I'm taking mental notes.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I'm adding that. And when I have to report that to my HR manager, okay, interviewed this person, this person, this person. Wasn't impressed with that one because this, and this. And I can honestly say there are persons now, I'm out of the human resources, like I said, but there are persons now who remember when I interviewed them.
Wow.
I don't even remember them.
Of course
And
not.
they would be like, I remember when you interviewed me, girl, I was
Yes.
so scared. I was this, I was that, but you was on point. You was on point.
That's
You
right.
know, and these are persons
You're
who are
respected.
contributing now.
Yes.
You know,
That's
so
right.
like Miss Marcel said, you have to start from that hiring phase. You have to look at that part of it. Sometimes you go wrong now. I made one or two mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I shouldn't.
That's how you
so I shouldn't
learn.
hire somebody who comes in with green nail polish.
Oh.
No,
I have, Miss Marcel, I had a situation where my managing director, someone from their church needed a job. We had a position open for a receptionist. The person was on time, but because of the way they dressed, I subsequently overlooked them. If I was going through the applications, I would not have shortlisted that person. But because that came directly from the MD, I pretty much had no choice but to interview. And so after the interview process, you have to make your notes as to why the person you interviewed, what went well and what didn't go well. And I was reprimanded for not accepting that individual. Number one, I remember when I first started in banking, I had to borrow my mom's suit because I'd been in the hotel industry and I only had that type of uniform. And so I feel as if you're coming into a bank, your attire, you should look a certain way. Who would want to say with somebody who is wearing flip-flops, their toes are not properly manicured anyway, so that should be enclosed. But I got reprimanded for not selecting that person for a receptionist position, even though that was a low-level position. That is the first person you're going to see. That's the face. Absolutely. And they could not understand why I could make an exception. If I walked in a bank and saw that person, I'm not saving my money with you.
You didn't do the for the record.
Okay.
That's how I normally start my response to that. For the record.
Okay. No, but
Anyone see blah blah blah.
While Erica was talking, it brought me back to what you were saying about people's circumstances, and it might have been a circumstance. Now, I would have probably channeled my interview of that person in such a way that I find out she was just a louse or she just didn't have clothes. Okay.
Right.
Because like some people you can help,
Okay.
or
Okay.
have her come back for an interview and say to her now, when you go in for an interview, this is how you should present yourself.
Okay.
Or make a case for the person.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit interested. Come back. Let's see and just see how she came back.
Okay. Okay. I guess I put up a wall because of her appearance and thinking, my receptionist cannot look like this. I am so sorry. And I guess knowing that the person, she didn't have any skills for that role. as you know, as presented on her resume. And so I guess I put up a wall and I was like, no, no. I mean, I was trying to be on the fence because, like I said, it came directly from the MD, but it was just, yeah,
And somebody
unacceptable.
else said maybe they just didn't know, you know?
Which is true.
And so you have to, in the interviewing, let me tell you, the most value a HR person can have for or to their job is to be a skillful recruiter and interviewer.
Okay.
That's the, you could save yourself a lot of headache. Because sometimes under the best of circumstances, Roll, I could tell you, I have hired perfect people. And 3 months later, hold on. They was perfect when I hired them. And the day their probation over,
wow, the beast comes out.
Did I hire you? Yeah, you hired me. Yeah, you hired me.
Wow.
People have to be on their best game.
Yeah.
Okay?
And see the facade.
Hiring, monitoring, you know, being aware of what those employees are doing. And no HR person can do that effectively by sitting down in an office.
You have to get out behind the
You have
desk,
to
get from behind the desk.
organization.
COVID is hampering me in that endeavor. Oh, and Eugenia asked if you can, I guess, like if you have a question for her, she can send it to you via email since her mic isn't working.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could give her a question. So I don't forget you're going to write it down for her? Or how can she?
No, she can hear you. She can hear you, but she can't speak.
Yeah, Eugenia? All right. Here's your question. Eugenia, can you hear me? Eugenia?
Jackie, tell her to do a thumbs up or something.
Eugenia, are you on?
Yes, she's on. She's giving the thumbs up.
Okay, can she?
She can hear.
Can you hear me? Okay. Eugenia, write down your question then. It is commonly accepted that HR has two roles. One is traditional/supportive. And the other is innovative. Number 2 is innovative. And I want you to explain the difference between the two. It is commonly accepted that HR has two roles, traditional/supportive, that's the first rule. And the second rule is the innovative rule. Explain the difference between the two. And I don't want you to, and this is where trust has to come in between you and me. And this is where honesty have to come in and integrity. I don't want you to just go to your notes and write what's in your resource guide. I want you to think about it without even opening that book. And whatever you think, you write it down. Because I've been doing this a long time and I know when you're all faking me. I know when you're all faking me, I know what, and I gotta share this with you. The last time I did this intermediate class, right, I had a couple of Sharpies, but I had this one young lady work for a bank. When she started, she was totally clueless. Totally. Not like none of y'all, totally clueless. And the first 2 sessions, it showed and homework, hopeless. Then from the 3rd session, this child started bringing work that I would do. And I mean properly, beautifully set out and presented and everything. Now y'all think I'm stupid? And you know, I know. She ain't do them homework. Because in class, she never said anything. You know, I tried to draw her in, but I guess the conversation was a little bit above her head. Like I couldn't get this sort of reaction. But the homework was stunning. Now what do you do? What do you do? So, you know, I just had to, I guess it still came out the way it should have, because remember, we had all these marks and we take the average of them, and that's how you get what you get. But I couldn't see such totally, I mean, really amazing work, good work. Now, here's my hope. My hope is that she would go and read through her notes, read through that homework, and really internalize it and grasp it. Because I don't much care, you know, where the material comes from. This is what I care about. I care that every one of you are able to have this sort of HR related, business related conversation. Because this is what you need in your workplace as you move up. And like I say, whether that's in HR as a generalist or specialist, or that you just moving up in your organization, you need to know these things. It's gonna make you a better manager. It's gonna make you a better CEO. It's gonna make you a better everything. And so this is very heartening for me, because I've never been one of those people who into, as a matter of fact, people always rile me up, because there are some people who believe the most important thing on earth is their piece of paper, their degree, and their this and that. And I don't believe that. I believe it's important and nice to have. But I'm gonna tell you this, if I have an organization and you have bachelor's, master's, and doctorate, but you have no competency-based skills in what I need, I don't want to see you. But if you have an associate's degree and you could think and use your noodles, welcome. Mind you, if you have the degree and you can do that, that's fine. But don't just hold on to your piece of paper and you think that's all there is to life. And a lot of employers are drawn in by that and they can't move. Their organization is right there.
But you know, Miss Marcella, my manager, that was one of the things that I disagreed with her on in terms of the entry level requirements. And I think she was more partial to graduates from the private schools. So of course the entry level was you needed 5 BGCSE with C and above, especially including math and English. And like I said, she was partial to private schools, but there were some persons who would come in, who would send in their resume. And I don't know, I think this is why I always fall back to HR, because I always have an instinct. It seemed like I had an instinct when it came to reading these resumes and garnering information. And once or twice I tried the public schools. I would never tell her when these persons came from the public schools. They would be the ones who would score really well on the entry level test. The interview with them was really, really good. But somehow she would always choose the private school persons over. There was this one time, there was a lady who had her 5 BGCSEs, pretty girl, you know, the banks, they believe in hiring pretty girls and all that other stuff. And I will never forget this, because I tell this story all the time, and this is how I try not to judge persons. One of the questions was the essay part of the question was to describe your personality and attributes. And she called me over. This is the one with the 5 BGCSEs. I think she got B's and A's. What are attributes? So I looked at her and I said, what are attributes? Because I'm trying to remember the question. And so she showed me the word, and the word was attributes. So I say, okay, this one ain't gonna work. She's not gonna work. And I still had to go through that whole thing with her. And did the interview. And again, because she had a private school education, she went in with the HR manager, because I would do the first one and then they would have to go to the HR manager, and then they would go to whatever department for another interview. When my manager was finished with that, when she said, why you do that to me? I said, I had to prove something to you. Just because they have this private school education, or just because you think they have these grades, doesn't mean that they have what it takes to do what we need them to do. You know, I said, sometimes you have to look a little bit deeper. And believe it or not, the other person who I sent into her who went to the public school, she was so impressed. And they've now gone up. I think they're probably a level 6 now. They're still with the organization.
Wow.
And that's when she kind of changed her outlook on it. You know, like I said, you won't always hit the nail, but you have to look a little deeper.
Absolutely.
When you're interviewing, you have to, you know, find a way to draw information from them.
Yes.
And then you can make a better decision,
Yes.
you know, when you're doing that part of it. But I don't believe in lauding these persons who have all these papers, because anyone could have written those papers.
Hello? No.
Anyone could have done that, you know.
And this is where, again, and I'll kind of wrap up by saying, the HR people can be foundational help for their organizations. The better and more effective you are at interviewing skills, because remember now, mostly you are responsible, like I say, for the screening, the you know, recommending people to be hired through the ones that are recruited, and you see them first. So always the key to know about people is to let them talk and you listen. You should. I always had my paper with my few key questions, and they were always to find out more about people. Okay, because
what type of key questions did you have? Sorry, what type of key questions did you have? I'm curious.
Again, too late in the night to think about key questions. No, but basically, you always you check I would always check the applications or the resume or whatever. Check those, check the educational things, because you'll find a lot of them, most of the times, a lot of them's lie. You just gotta look at the dates and the stuff like that. But the questions would depend for exactly on the job. Say you're looking for a customer service job, and one of the things, like people would always say when you ask them, well, why do you think you'll fit this job, or why do you want? Well, I like people, and then you ask them something to do with people, and they tell you the story about how they hate them and almost kill them and blah 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 blah. You know, that kind of thing. But as you open the narrative to them and let them tell you, well, you give me an example of when you really worked well with some people. And chances are they won't be able to tell you, or they'll try to make up a story, and you could tell it's a story. So I wish I could really think right off the top of my head some direct questions, but I really can't. I can't, because I want to cap this session with what I want you to do. Tonight in your session, this was session 4, and we want to be talking about strategies for stimulating productivity and performance, motivation and incentives. So I'll briefly go over that next week, God willing. But the homework assignment that I want you to do, and I believe I might have missed 2 pages in your book, or when they were printing it, they didn't print all the pages. But this weekend, what I want you to do is to understand, are you all aware of, or about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Everybody know about Maslow, right? Good. Well, Maslow is like the main framework that is used in the area of motivation to try to explain, what motivates people, why people are not motivated, that sort of thing. So what your assignment for this week is to research Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's, that's M-A-S-L-O-W-S, Maslow's needs hierarchy, okay? And like I say, these things are easy to find. You go and Google Maslow's and a million things come up, all right? So I want you to illustrate how this theory can be useful in understanding the human capital, meaning all your employees and associates, dynamics in an organization. So research the theory, then illustrate. Now, whenever you see the word illustrate, that means talk about it, explain. Okay? That don't mean just draw your triangle and put it in the things. That means explain how you can use this theory in understanding the human capital of an organization. That's all the bodies, all the people in an organization. Because they all motivated by different things and different. So I just want you to, that's an easy, nice, short one. The most you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to do your drawing so that it shows the hierarchy. you know, as it goes up, because heavens knows, like I have found this to be so real in my life and my career, really, really real. Some people, they just go to work to eat food and clothes and sleep. Why people sleep so much? Anyway, to answer that, okay? And then some people is just, they want health. They want to know they're employed. They want prosperity, that's safety and security. Then some go to work to have friends. And I always say, I want no friends at work, okay? So some people need friendship, family, intimacy, but you'll find it laid right out for you. And you just sort of explain and talk about how this model we call it, can fit into your organization. And I'll have all your up-to-date grades for you. I didn't try to do it tonight because remember I had some do-overs to do. And also I have session 3. And I'm thinking, because, but I really want you to do that. And I'm thinking, because we did the individual questions tonight, I will probably not give you homework next week, but I want you to do the Maslow's, because that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay? So you all have a great weekend, and I hope the discussion tonight was meaningful. I thought that was the way we should go. And I'm feeling, every week I feel more and more comfortable with you all, because I feel like more and more, you know,
you're getting it
up and you're getting it. So I'm really glad. I'm glad, because I want you to have a little extra something to feel pumped about in your organization.
Oh.
And again, Bridget, I want to tell you, if I had a golden girl this week, it's you. I really love the effort that you put into that paper. Good job. And I can't tell some of the rest of y'all because I haven't gone through, you know, like
awesome, Bridget. Congratulations.
So next week. And Roll, thank you so much. As a matter of fact, I pulled some of the best ones from my last class. And the best one from the last class was different from yours. And this is what I want you all to understand, that your papers aren't supposed to be the same. They aren't supposed to be the same because your organizations are not the same. Where you are not the same. You mightn't see things, you see things differently. But the main concepts and the premise that you ask are always the same. So you have to connect whatever you say to that basic premise you set out. That's all. And have to make the argument or make your when I'm hungry, I lose everything I wanted to say. You make your premise suit. Just don't say things. Back it up. You know what I mean? Say why you say it. That might not be how I would have said it, but say why. But I will keep this one because I keep really outstanding things. I keep good things. I love to keep them. But I want to tell you, anybody with an A, anywhere in the A stream, I'm asking you right now up front to please allow me to copy it, to share with the others in the group. Because that means you really got it. So thank you all. And y'all could fight now. Y'all are fighters. I think y'all hated what I said the last time. but I'm really pleased and proud. So thank you all. And all y'all who I don't see, y'all don't know what y'all missing.
We appreciate the motivation, Miss Marcella. At least I do, definitely, because
Thank you.
I haven't been in school for almost 30 years now, 25, 30 years, and to get back in the gear and to use that noggin the way you're pushing us to is really appreciated. Seriously.
That's you're welcome, and that's good because that's the whole idea. And you'll always remember that one of the biggest roles and responsibility of HR is motivation. You all know that.
Yeah.
And so that's where it starts with you. If you are soft, then how you expect to lift your employees? So like a lot of times you have to put a lot behind you. You know, when you feel tired, when you don't want to come to work. I could tell you, not a one of my employees could ever tell you that I was late. Never. And if I'm serious, if I had a meeting to go to, like, you know, people say I'm the boss, I don't have to tell them.
Yeah.
I don't operate like that.
Mm-hmm.
I call the receptionist and my administrative assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is where I am. And, you know, how long I think I may be gone. And the reason for that was when I demand of them, they couldn't point back a finger at me. Yeah, but yeah, they running me, so we gotta go.
Okay.
So you all have a good weekend.
Good evening. Okay.
You too.
Good
Bye,
evening,
ladies.
everybody.
Bye.
Good
Have a
evening.
good week.
Last night.